All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our first BOE post BOE press of the year. We didn't skip you guys the last time, but I had to go to Annapolis for the opening session, so we missed that day. As always, I always start off these press conferences talking about where the city stands with public safety. I do want to say that I am still devastated about what happened to that 6-year-old baby in South Baltimore last night. I'm grateful to the work of the men and women of BPD that they've been able to effectuate an arrest and have someone be charged for that, but no family should have to go through the loss of a child like that. And I think that it just, again, uplifts the importance of the work that happens, not just from the police department, but from everything else. Because when you have that happen to a young person who wasn't out running the streets, who wasn't doing anything other than being a 6-year-old child, it's devastating to our community. So thankful to our detectives and our officers who are making a swift arrest. With that being said, even though it is incredibly early, I committed to giving the numbers to you guys every time that we were here. As of right now, homicides are down in Baltimore 36% from last year, and non-fatal shootings are down 14%. And we will continue to do the work each and every day to make Baltimore safer. Now, on to a much lighter topic and today's main message. We all know that there will be big things happening in Baltimore this week, and it will be about the Ravens, and this is a purple time in Baltimore as we prepare for the first AFC Championship game in Baltimore since that team known as the Mayflowers played at Memorial Stadium. And I've never been more fired up for a AFC Championship and sporting event in my life. This is going to be the largest one-day sporting event in Baltimore in my lifetime, and coming on the heels of the Ravens drawing the most viewers ever on the ESPN game last week. We know this will be even bigger. Coach Harbaugh has nothing to worry about. The city will be fired up, and we will letting Mr. Mahomes and the Chiefs know how we feel about them. And we want to put it all to bed now, all the naysayers and haters about what is happening with this team. Baltimore, like our quarterback, has been far too long told what we can't do. He's been told that he can't throw. He should just focus on running. He should be a running back. He's not quarterbacky. And as I said last week after the game, my quarterback is very quarterbacky. He just can also do running backy things, which no other quarterback can do in this league. And now it's time for us to prove them all wrong. First, the housekeeping items. I've said it many times before, and I'll continue to say it again. Baltimore is a world-class city, and we prove time and time again that we're a destination for sports and entertainment, and that we're ready to host these world-class events. City agencies will be staffed, will be coordinating efforts through our Emergency Operations Center, and will be ready for the expected crowds. We want everyone to have a smooth and enjoyable experience. Everyone that's coming into town, even Taylor Swift. That said, there will be traffic. So if you don't like traffic, take the light rail, take the metro, take Uber. If you want to not drive in the traffic, take the bus. There will be traffic, and because we know the flock will be going all around town. And if you're driving downtown, just allow yourself some extra time to get around. We want everyone to be safe this weekend, so if you see something out of place that doesn't feel right, please let us know and let our police department know. Together, we are going to have a flock of a time as we win and go on to the Super Bowl. And now for the fun part. All year, the Ravens have been putting the whole city on their back and putting the Baltimore out to the world. And we want the Ravens to know that we have their back as well. That's why I am declaring this month Purple January in Baltimore. And I'll read the official citation now. Whereas the Baltimore Ravens have established themselves this year as one of the most dominant teams in the National Football League, posting a league best record. And whereas in a Week 16 contest between the two best records in the NFL, on Christmas night, the Ravens pulverized the San Francisco 49ers 33-19 at Levi Stadium. And whereas in Week 17, spurred on by MVP chants, Ravens quarterback and soon-to-be MVP Lamar Jackson threw for 321 yards and 5 touchdowns as the Ravens eviscerated the Miami Dolphins' #1 scoring defense 56-19, earning a first-round bye in the playoffs. And whereas during last week's impressive 34-10 divisional round victory against the Houston Texans, the Ravens defense was suffocating from start to finish, and the offense scored on all 4 of their second half drives. And whereas also in that game, Lamar Jackson became the first player in NFL history to throw for 100-plus yards, rush for 100 yards, have a passing rating of 100, throw 2 passing touchdowns, and have 2 rushing touchdowns in one game. And whereas Sunday's game against the Kansas City Chiefs at M&T Bank Stadium will be the first AFC Championship game hosted by the Ravens in franchise history. And whereas finally, the Baltimore Ravens entered the home stretch of one of their most dominant seasons ever, they continue to rise to the occasion and play their best against the NFL's best competition. Go Ravens. Therefore, I, Brandon M. Scott, Mayor of the City of Baltimore, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as Purple January in Baltimore and urge residents to support the mighty Ravens in their awe-inspiring quest for the coveted Lombardi Trophy. Signed by me, Mayor Brandon Scott. So now it's officially Purple January in Baltimore. I'm also encouraging all businesses and residents that, for that matter, to light the city up in purple. Every business in downtown, every home that has a flag, everything that you have. I don't care if you have to hang out an old Michael Jackson Ravens jersey out your window. Hang it out and show your purple pride across the city of Baltimore. I am also encouraging all city employees to join me in wearing purple on this Friday. City Hall is going to be showing our love for our beloved team. We're planning to do a big city employee photo here at City Hall. Take your own photos, put them on social media, talk trash to your family and friends in Kansas City. Let them know that the flock is nothing to play with. And I'm encouraging all Ravens fans to make their presence known on Sunday and create an atmosphere that makes it almost impossible for Mr. Mahomes to hear. Soon, I will be announcing a friendly wager with my great friend, Mayor Lucas of Kansas City. He will be joining me for the game on Sunday, and my prediction is that he will leave the same way he left the last time he came, with tears, as his Chiefs will not be going to the Super Bowl because Lamar and the Ravens will be. And the last thing I want to see him to see as he leaves is a sea of purple pride celebrating an AFC Championship victory. So Baltimore, let's be ready, let's be loud, let's be proud, let's be even louder than we were last weekend. Let's have a good, fun, safe time. Go Ravens. And with that, we'll jump right into questions.
We'll go first question to Tyler.
Ooh. Go ahead, Tyler. You're fine. They just change the eye color right in my eye.
Yeah, I mean, if we could just talk about you touched on the 6-year-old and then the double homicide on Friday. Talk about the violence and what your administration's doing.
Yeah, we're going to continue to do the work. We know that this incident, as you know, is so fresh. I can't talk about it in detail yet. This incident with the 6-year-old is extremely different. We have already made an arrest in that case, as you know, and we're going to continue to work on the others. I think even knowing a little bit about the case from last week, it seems that that's involving around a basic dispute, which is something that you hear me say consistently. But even with that, we are already outpacing the numbers from last year. But we're going to continue to do that great work. I know, Tyler, you saw the weapons that our GVU, our gun violence unit, just took off the streets just last week, and some of those guns, those rifles and assault rifles and all the things that we're taking, and along with the drugs and the things, breaking down these organizations who are committing the overwhelming level of violence in the city, which is why we have GVRS and why we're focusing on those groups. But every individual that is carrying a handgun should know that we are trying to remove that gun and them off the streets of Baltimore. But our detectives are going to be working with witnesses and family members and anyone else who has information on all and every single act of violence in the city to try to bring some peace for those families as we turn them over to the other parts of the system.
Quick follow-up, the comptroller's checkbook website just went live. People can look up what the city has paid, different contractors, things like that. Why is that important to have?
It's important. Listen, we've been talking about this. We had an open checkbook thing that my office put out a few years ago. We always want to be open and transparent so that people can see what's happening in city government. For generations, that was not the case. Things just happened and no one knew. Tali, long before you came to WL, actually introduced the city's open data law. So this something has been a very big focus of mine for the entirety of my time in public service.
Good.
Mayor Stunt, a BGF member pleaded guilty earlier this month to various crimes. In the plea, he admitted to BGF, including himself, using a Safe Streets location not only as a stash house for guns and drugs, but also a location where they plotted a murder. Can you definitively say that similar things are not happening at other Safe Streets locations in the city?
What I can say is that anytime that we find anybody being involved in criminal activity, Mackenzie, we remove those people and turn those over to the other parts of the justice system. As I said to you 1,000 times, I don't care if those things are being handled at the DBW office, if they're being plotted out in the basement of Fox 45 TV, wherever they're being plotted out. Our folks are working to find those people and remove them and working with our law enforcement partners, as was the case in this case.
But yes or no, can you definitively say that that's not happening?
What I can tell you again is that when we know people are committing criminal acts, my police department arrests them and turns them over to the other parts of the justice system, works with our federal partners, just like they did in this case.
Mr. Mayor, just doubling back to the Ravens, could you be more specific about security plans for the weekend? Is the police department going to come out with a plan about how to secure the game around M&T Bank Stadium? Anything specific coming out?
Well, this is what we do every week. So, I'm not going to give the details of a security plan out loud. But every week we have a plan working with the Stadium Authority, with the Ravens, with our partners at the state, and we're going to continue to do that. We've had a lot of games this year without incident. We're going to continue to do that. We know this is a bigger game, so we'll be prepared.
Good.
Question on the Affordable Connectivity Program, the broadband subsidy. So we've talked before about how that program is going to expire and money's running out. The FCC came out earlier this month with a letter to Congress basically saying they have to begin winding down the program. And then they also set a cutoff date for when new people could be enrolled into the program, which is really soon, February 7th. I'm just wondering if you have thoughts on how the city should be approaching that subsidy given that it's about to run out. Should we still be trying to enroll more people into the program?
Well, I think we should continue to do that, Adam, and also prepare for the changes if they come. Because you often know sometimes with Congress, things change like that, right? And they realize once Congress members who don't realize that these things are actually going to hurt their constituents find out, and they get phone calls, and miraculously these things get passed. So we have to do the both. We have to prepare for the program to end, which would be a travesty, and really to me should be a civil rights issue in this country. When you think about what they're doing, this country and this federal government can afford to do this. To not have this program is really being pushed by folks who simply don't understand what they're doing, because they're using these far-right tactics and talking points to hurt people. Because this isn't just about folks in inner cities. This is about rural connectivity and folks who need that out in places where you struggle to get internet access. And we know when you think about that connectivity tissue between urban and rural, this is something that everyone should agree on.
Rebecca?
The BOE unanimously approved a $250,000 increase for Fearless Solutions to redesign the city's website today. Can you explain what that funding increase is for?
Yeah, I think that we have to understand we are rebuilding the city's website from the ground up, and there is nothing wrong with this contract and this process. I want to be very clear. This is a professional service contract, and it's done the same way that all professional service contracts are done in the city. We're under the expanded scope of work, and I'll tell you about what that includes, which is not uncommon for a project of this size. Almost every week at the BOE, you guys sit there and hear and talk about change orders and how cost overruns and things happen once the work actually starts. This is no different. But you're talking about literally all the stuff that the city is mandated to have on this website. Literally taking a website that should have been done over 10, 15 years from the bottom up and making sure that now as we produce a better product, that this is something that residents can interact with in an easier way, that they can get the information that Tali and others have been talking about in a much easier way.
Baltimore's previous website designer was selected through a competitive bidding process though? Why not go through that same process again to ensure that taxpayers are getting the most for their buck?
Well, they are. This is a professional service contract, right? Professional service contracts, and what BSID did is that they also went out and talked to multiple contractors and decided to go with Fearless. This actually, as you know, talked about going through the BOE, so this is not something that we've been hiding.
So they did take other bids?
They did. They talked to other contractors, and BSID decided on this
Are
contract.
you able to say what other contractors?
I am not at liberty to say at this time.
Do we have WJZ or WMAR in the back?
And you've got Emily in the front too.
Emily?
There was an audit released this week showing that overtime spending had been abused by the city police department in the 2021 and 2022 budget years. In some cases, you had one officer claiming 20-plus hours of overtime in one day. This isn't the first audit to show that overtime's been abused in Baltimore. We also saw the GTTF case where officers were abusing it. How can you say at this point that this problem is going to be fixed?
Easily. This is why we put those systems in place. This is why we went through the putting in a workday, right? This is why when you talk about, Emily, and thank you for the question, some of those outdated systems, as you know, your people did a great job of covering GTF about the paper slips and all of these things that happened in the past. When you now have in built-in systems that alert people, that make sure that supervisors have to have checks and there's checks and balances, that's how you put these things in place, and why we were working to do just that and are looking forward to making sure that everything is fully implemented.
And last question, Tashi.
The MEO Race is getting more crowded even as of today. Can you comment on that?
Well, listen, people are, Mr. Vignerotta is free to run as he always does. What our focus is going to continue to be on is our record, right? A record reduction in homicides in the city of Baltimore, lowest unemployment ever, opening recreation centers, not closing them, investing in our public schools in ways that no one has, the 8th fastest growing economy in the country. That's what we're going to continue to talk about. People are free to run for office. This is what makes not just our city and our country so great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.